moments, these teachable moments, as it goes in real life and by watching what's happening with celebrities that can help us. And I want to be part of the solution more so than part of the problem or adding more to the noise of the issue. But how do we really look at this from a constructive perspective and kind of dissect what happened, why it's happening, and then how we can avoid it ourselves? So, if you're new here, my name is Rhonda Gipson-Willis. I am a licensed therapist and coach. I help women transition from the space they're in to their next level in terms of shifting to their next best selves. And part of that is related to doing the work of healing. So let me see if this is on yet. Hold on a minute. So part of what I do when in the work that I do is I help people identify how they got into the situations that they're in so they can avoid said situations. So as it relates to what's going on with Meg and Nicki, I really want to talk a little bit about my perspective, my take on it, what I believe is happening. And what you'll notice is I already did a video. I did a live video, or not a live video, I did a recorded video. It was a TikTok. I did a TikTok about this earlier where I talked about why I believe they got in this predicament, what truly happened from a therapist perspective, and how we as mere mortals, as not celebrity people, sometimes finds ourselves in the same type of situations, and how to avoid it, right? How to avoid it. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to speak based on the information that I know. There could be other information that's available, but if you're like me, you've been inundated with all things Meg and Nicki over the last several days. So, for backstory, for those of you who don't know, is there anybody who does not know? Just in the off chance that there's somebody who doesn't know, I'm going to go ahead and give you the Reader's Digest version of what had happened. Right. So what had happened was uh, Nicki Minaj and apparently a bunch of other people have been saying things about Meg the Stallion, whether directly or indirectly, right? And she finally got fed up enough to say, I'm about to settle this once and for all, and I'm going to come out, I'm going to have this song, and you're all going to get my take on this. And she named the song Hiss to represent what you hear from a friend. Hey friend, what you hear from a person, right? A snake right before the snake is about to strike. So she is basically saying, this is your warning shot. And in that warning shot, she named not one name. She named not one person. Now, there's a lot of conjecture about who she was talking about, right? And people were taking guess at who she could have been referring to. And they've named few people, right? Thank you, Nurse Devan. Is that it? They've named a few different people about, who it could possibly be. But she didn't really name any names. So it could have been anybody. But over the weekend or 15 minutes after the song released, one of those people, excuse me, outed themselves. And that person was the Nicki Minaj. And basically 15 minutes after the song came out, Nicki Minaj went on a tirade. She went on a tirade. And on that tirade, she went in on all things Meg, talking about her big foot, big feet, and how she didn't get shot and all of that. So after that, right, the initial tirade after 15 minutes after it came out, Nicki Minaj has been consistently and constantly referencing this and speaking about Meg the Stallion for 3 days straight. For 3 days straight. It's like she's not gotten any rest. She's really, this has been the thing that's on her mind. So most people have concluded, right, that rightfully so, that Nicki took great offense to the one line that Meg said that she relayed to herself, which was, when she said, "Hoes ain't mad about Megan, they mad about Megan's Law." Megan's Law is a legislation that says that sex offenders have to register, and um, Nicki's husband is a registered sex offender, and I believe her brother allegedly is also one, right? So she took great offense to that. Now, my take on that is that as we are watching this very public spiraling of Nicki Minaj, that there's some lessons to be learned here, right? And some things to attempt to avoid as we go about our own lives and live um, these experiences that can really expose our limitations. I say that to say Nicki Minaj has basically showed us the hole in her armor. And the hole in her armor is that she holds a lot of offense. She holds a lot of offense. If you take offense, right? She took offense about something that was allegedly, and let's be honest, it was very likely geared towards her, something that was directed towards her. She took offense, and because of taking offense, she got on this emotional spiral that is not a good look, right? It's not a good look. It's not, from the outside looking in, from the inside looking out. It is not a good look for the girlies, right? It's not a good look, but it does say a lot more about her than what she probably cared for us to know. So for those of you who know, I have been in these streets, these social media streets, for a bit of a while, right? For a long time. And when you're on the social media, in these social media streets, and yes, Taj, Taj Cosmetics, I know you's Mary. Wait, is it Mary? Why do I feel like I'm messing up your name all of a sudden? Um, but in these social media streets, if you are not built to be publicly ridiculed or talked about, you will very easily be beat up in these streets. Now, Nicki Minaj basically revealed how thin her skin. Marie, yes, Marie, not Mary. I knew that didn't sound right. Marie, I know your name, Marie. Um, she revealed just how thin her skin was, and herein lies the problem. So, Lovely Lashes says, "If the shoe fits, wear it, and the truth hurts." Chewed up and spit out, right? Oh, I said in another post on IG that a hit dog will holler, and I don't think people understood what I meant when I said a hit dog hollers. Yeah, Marie says she's a bully and she's 40. Absolutely. Like, I've long said that I've not been a fan of her tactics, right? I'm not a fan of her tactics. I've been a fan of her music. I'm not a fan of her tactics and how she shows up sometimes. And this kind of sealed the deal of, okay, lady, you really need to do your work, because she is missing some opportunities to maybe show up as her best self. So here's the thing. She's awfully offended by this thing. And because she's offended, she is on social media showing her whole entire ass. Showing her whole ass. And here's the thing that people fail to recognize: when you go toe to toe for people in a public way, right? When you go toe to toe with people in a way like that, it oftentimes makes you look worse than it makes them look. And at this, she's not looking so great. So Lovely Lashes said, of course, it's just a sales boost tactic. Absolutely. So here's the thing. Here's what I understand. Now, part of what she's doing is generating buzz, to generate sales, to be number one streaming, to do all of that. Like, yo, like, we can get attention in different ways, but at what cost? There's a cost to that, right? There's a cost to not having a better marketing plan than that. There's a cost to that, because as many fans as she may win, she may lose just as many. And there may be a different way to get fans. And if if you are on the bandwagon of how she's showing up, it may say a little more about you and your level of healedness, right? So here's what I know. Someone who is healed in those spaces is not going to be that easily triggered by other people. So Talon says, hi. From my understanding, Nicki generally gets offended by everyone. Here, this is what a perfect segue. In the if you are easily offended, you are easy to manipulate. If you are easily offended, then you are easy to control. Because if you are easily offended, then I know which buttons to push. And if you are that easily offended and you go on a tear for 72 hours, I know exactly what I need to say if I want to knock you off your square. I know exactly what I need to do if I want to see you act a plumb fool. I know exactly. You giving me the playbook, and I didn't even have to work that hard for it. But it also represents a level of unhealedness in Nicki Minaj. There's some work that she needs to do. Here's the thing, right? And if she's that easily offended by all things, right? If she's that easily offended by all things, that means that she likely cares more about what people think of her than what she lets on, right? She likely cares more about what other people think about her than she lets on. Because if she did not care, she wouldn't be that easily triggered. You wouldn't be able to push that button and then watch her do her show. When you have done your work, right? When you've done the work to heal those wounds, or to accept the accountability and responsibility for who you are in the situation that you're in, right? Because Marie says her husband is an offender and so is her brother, right? If you know that to be the truth, right? And you know that you jab at people, because she's not innocent, right? She's not innocent in all of this. And even if she were, you know that's something that somebody could use against you. So why not allow yourself to disarm that trigger? To go, you know what? You say it, it is what it is. It is what it is. He's, he paid his price to society, and he's doing the best that he can, and he's mine, and I'm gonna stick beside him and be done with it. But instead, she let us all know that if we want to get under her skin, head straight for that. Head straight for that, which is a position of emotional weakness. It's a position of emotional weakness. It comes off looking strong because she's cussing and she's ready to fight, and she's got this bully exterior. But a lot of your favorite bullies are hiding behind a very thin veneer of pain and hurt and unhealedness. Should have been Stefflon Don. She would have been done. Come on now, let it slide off. That's what I'm assuming that you're meaning. Yes, very, very immature. It's emotionally immature because it represents that she has not done the work. Now, here's the thing. As a coach, I'm a healing coach. I'm a transformational breakthrough coach. I help people heal some of the most horrific and horrible things that have happened in their lives, that has a chokehold on them to this day, right? People who you would never guess until that thing, somebody tick booms them, right? So if Nicki Minaj were my client, I would ask her, why does it matter what someone else says about you? Why does it matter? And in the answer would reveal a lot, because what people tend to say, right, when you ask something like that is, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Does she look like she doesn't care? She looks like she cares a whole lot. She doesn't look like she doesn't care. But that's what you get. Oh, I don't care. I just had to let her know she won't go unchecked. I just had to let her know that I ain't no punk. She's trying the Jada and Steph riff. I don't know what you mean by that. But oftentimes people are like, I'm gonna let you know. And that goes not just with Nicki Minaj. That doesn't go with just, That goes for a lot of us. A lot of us, you can tell where the wound is by where the trigger is. Your trigger is your indication that you need to act. Yeah, Taylor 915 says, but her actions say differently. She cares. Absolutely, she cares. And she could pretend that it's all about checking Nicki so that checking Meg so that Meg knows not to mess with her anymore. But she's really showing us her hand. Oh, okay. I don't know who those people are. Jada Kingdom and Steph Londo had a sound off last week. Is this your podcast too? Or this your content, your TikTok content? Okay, so it's funny you mentioned a podcast. So I'm actually streaming live on YouTube, but there is a podcast coming. So stay tuned. There's a podcast coming. You can follow me on YouTube for that. But yeah, so here's the thing. Here's how to render yourself untriggerable. Here's how to so that you don't end up in a situation like this, that you don't end up cussing somebody out about something that they've said to you, about somebody that you love, and that's caused you to show your hand, right? And I say this because I am this, right? I am there is nothing you can say to me or about me on these social media interwebs that's going to allow me to show out like that. You can't trigger me. You know why? Because I don't care enough about what half the people know. I don't care enough about what anybody who doesn't know me has to say about me. I don't care. As evidenced by, I did this video. Oh gee, where is it? I did this video last year, and I uploaded it to YouTube. Let me see if I can find this, y'all. I'm gonna find this. It was a basic video where I was basically saying what I look for in, future bae. And on the screen, it pops up: generous, leader, funny as fuck, compassionate, loving, takes care of physical health, attractive to me, high emotional intelligence, has been or willing to go to therapy. And then I put doing the work is sexy as hell. All right. So that's the whole, yes, Nicki is a keyboard bully. That was the whole gist of what I posted, right? Let me share with you some of the comments that I got that were meant to offend me, but because I do not honor the spirit of offense in my body, I don't honor it. I didn't get offended. I thought it was funny. Let me show y'all what they said. And I'm doing another video. I did another video where I share some of this. So somebody said, hope that works out. I hope that works out for you. So this gentleman says, all alone at 52 is over. I don't think she understands just yet. So basically he's saying that at 52, I'm 53. At 53, I'm not smart enough to know what my options are or should be. And I should believe that what it is that they believe about my chances at finding a future bae. So here's the next one. So another guy says, get a cat and ... Another guy says, be happy, ha ha ha, after get a cat. Another one says, oh, beautiful woman. There was a comment. But Michael Brown, whoever he is, couldn't leave that be. He says, he accuses the guy of being a granny hunter. I guess I'm the granny. She's 52. Actually, again, I'm 53. She need a man worth about $100K a year. And what about her kids? You realize you'll be the stepdaddy. This, when I tell you, because I don't honor the spirit of offense, I thought it was hilarious, because how ridiculous is that? And then one of his last comments was, she's strong and independent. She doesn't need no man. No, she doesn't need a weak man, which basically you showed your hand, right? A granny hunter. Yes. He called the guy a granny hunter and then said that he was going to have to be my kid's stepdad. Anyway, but when I see comments like that, I genuinely laugh. You know why? Because none of that is able to stick to me because I'm trigger proof. I'm trigger proof. And what happens is when people go for what the low hanging fruit, now I'm not saying that Meg's was low hanging fruit because that was a pretty clever bar. That was a pretty clever bar. That wasn't low hanging fruit. That was a pretty clever bar. But when people go for like the low hanging fruit of what they believe should be the thing to offend you, as a woman, I should be offended. I should feel offended that, oh, he also said this. Wait, somebody else also said this thing. This was the one. I should be offended by this. Funny how a 52-year-old divorce is looking for quite the list of a man, especially the one, I guess it's supposed to be where it says takes care of his physical health, and she looks overweight and out of shape. Women are cray these days. He said, first of all, I'm crazy for having a list, right? Having standards, expectations. And we are all allowed to have our preferences. I don't care what we look like. Yes, child. Yes, infamous OG. He said that I had quite the list. The list wasn't that difficult. It's just that I know based on what it is that he wrote, that he's nowhere near the list. So I'm not paying him a bit of mine. And even if he was on the list, I'm not paying him any mind because he's not my dude. I do not honor the opinions of people that I've not solicited opinions from. And because I know myself so well, so here we go back to Nicki. Because I know myself so well, I know that he ain't talking about me. He might be projecting. He might be doing some other things where it has to do with some other people that he done been in relationship with. But he ain't talking about me. He talking to me. And because I know he's not talking to me, I'm not offended by what he said. Only a man who can't live up to said list, he's offended. Exactly. Someone who can't live up to that. So now imagine if now I'm going off because he called me old, he called me out of shape, he called me crazy. Imagine I'm going off mad now. Now I'm about to look crazy, right? Now I'm going to look crazy because of something somebody said that I'm trying to tell you that I'm not. So when I say I'm untriggerable, you can't trigger me with something that you say on the internet. People have said all kinds of things. If you said, one man said to me, oh yeah, you got something on your face by your nose. I've had this mole all my life. Now, it's gotten bigger the older I've gotten. For now, I'm cool with it. At some point, I may get rid of it, but you know what? It's not a trigger point for me. You say you got a mole on your face. I say, I know. You tell me my breath stank. I'll be like, you know what? It probably does. You tell me an outfit doesn't look good on me. I say, you know what? You're right. It probably doesn't. You tell me I got rolls on my back. I say, I know. Because when you have done your healing work, part of your healing work requires that you accept not only yourself unconditionally and love yourself unconditionally, but you also honor your decisions. And one of Nicki Minaj's decisions was to be in relationship with a man who has to register on the Megan's list. He has to register on that list. So if you own it, you diffuse the trigger. There's so many people who are walking around wounded. And because they're walking wounded, they have a bravado of strength, right? Because they got a real with me exterior, right? Because it's easier to appear. It's easier to appear angry and tough and strong, right? That's probably why we have so much crime amongst people who have experienced so much trauma, right? A lot of the crime that's happening in this world is the result of unresolved trauma. People have experienced trauma, and instead of dealing with the hurts, instead of dealing with the effects of the trauma, they internalize and become tough, super tough. And in the super toughness, now they're offended by everything. What you looking at? And when you are easily offended, you are easy to manipulate. They say she's still the hit dog hollering. She absolutely is still the hit dog hollering. And I was on Instagram, I posted, and someone's like, why you call her a dog? I was like, nobody called her a dog. That's a colloquialism. Like, we've been saying that for years. It's like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like, hit dog hollering means that if you go let it be known who it's about by all the noise that you're making, that hit dog is hollering. I mean, just Google it if you don't understand what's meant. And that's another thing. There are some people who wear offense like a badge of honor. They wear their offense like a badge of honor. And because they wear their offense like a badge of honor, it's very evident to people like me who are trained to know that it's bigger than they're just tough, and they're going to let you know that they're tough. That's not it. Nicki Minaj in this show, in that display, she showed just how very weak she is. That's a weakness. Real strength would have been closing her keyboard and turning around and going to bed and making a better song. But you know what happened? She was so emotionally dysregulated that when we're emotionally dysregulated, when we're that upset, we don't make good decisions. We don't make good decisions. And here's the thing, when you are in that space where you can't make good decisions, when you get that upset, you need to have people around you that you trust to talk you off of a ledge, that you allow to do that. You need some people who will pull your coattail. Where are her people? Where's her team? Where are the people going? You know what we're showing is not what you're trying to show. And if you don't have those people in your life who will say to you, nah, bro, they're saying you need to sit down for a little bit. You need to simmer, right? You might need to reevaluate your circle. You might need to reevaluate your circle. So Latanya says, love your background. I'm taking my asthma. Oh, good luck, girl. Good luck. But yeah, so it's yeah, Infamous OG says she is weak, insecure, and hurt. And if you know, right? But then there are other people who are just like, okay, yeah, Nicki, we see you. We see you, but what you really see is pain leaking out of every part of her. That is pain. And I understand when these men come for me, and if you follow me on TikTok or IG, you've seen some of my responses. My responses are really steeped in the vein of who hurt you? Who hurt you? Like, why are you so angry? Clearly you have unresolved issues. And it's imperative that we all take responsibility and do the work. Yes, deep-rooted pain. It's not enough to say, well, that's just how I am and that's how life made me. No. That wreaks havoc on you. It's not a good look. Do the work. And some of you, right? Some of us have gotten really good at masking, doing the work with doing more activities, keeping ourselves busy, getting more degrees, getting more promotions, being super successful, which listen, if your trauma response is success, good for you. Like there are a lot worse trauma responses. But if you recognize that it's a trauma response, lean into why. And how is it showing up on the flip side as a not so positive for you? Do the work. The work is worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. So Taylor says, but it could be the folks in her life that perpetuate her behavior because they thrive off of her being mad. Ooh, okay. Taylor, you're on it. There are some people who are around you who enjoy watching the buttons of your life be pushed, right? Now, when I was a therapist for little kids, I used to tell them, I have two remotes. Let's pretend that this one is Meg, because Nicki liked to talk about how big Meg is. And let's say this one is Nicki. Now I can't push this one. I should probably push. When you do not own responsibility for your emotional self-management and you are surrounded by people who benefit off of you going off, whether it's because they can control you or whether it's because they think it's funny or whether they think it's fun or whether they are easily entertained by it, you are handing over the remote control of your life to other people. And they are basically going, dance monkey, and the monkey's dancing. The monkey's dancing. Dance monkey. Ooh, she done quieted down. Let me hit this button right here. Oop, there she goes again. Let me hit this one. Oop, that one no longer works, but I bet this one still works because this one's real tender. Oop. That's what's happening with Nicki Minaj. Doop, 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 doop. Here's the thing that Nicki doesn't recognize. She may believe she has Meg's remote, but she has a remote that doesn't work. There's no juice in this because Meg is not powering it with a response. Meg is not, she is not appearing bothered one bit by anything that Nicki is. As a matter of fact, she posted a Instagram story of a gif of her laughing, which I'm sure became another trigger, right? Because Meg, she owns Nicki Minaj's remote right now. She owns it. She owns it. Anytime she wants to see this woman act up, all she got to do is pull it out and hit a button. And Nicki's going to be up for 72 hours ranting, de-escalating in real time in front of us. We are seeing this. There's no pretending that it didn't happen. It's very well documented. So I want you to think about the remote of your life. Who has control over it? Who has control of it? So Taylor says, can you imagine how she found out about Megan's song by someone close, I'm sure, to see her react? Probably so. Probably so. All right. So infamous OG said, remember her own brother is a sexual predator, and then she picked one for her husband. So again, so that's a tender spot for her because she knows, right? All right. So infamous OG says, facts, and the best analogy I've heard thus far. 72 hours, yeah. You on someone's side or nah? Yourself only got control of it. Here's what I would say. Am I on somebody's side? I'm going to be honest. I ceased to be a fan of Nicki Minaj, the person, a long time ago, just because of how she kind of moves. And I've not been a fan of her music for a while, but I'm not her target audience, so she doesn't care. She doesn't care. But you know, if there's something that she does that I think is noteworthy, I'm like, okay. I mean, she's still a human person, so on the side of this, If I were to pick a side, I'd be Team Meg. You know why? Because Megan was responding to something. She was responding to a lot of people who have been piling on her for a while. And she basically she said, his is a warning shot. Because sometimes you got to let the people know. And she didn't do it in an unhinged manner. Whereas Nicki came back in a very unhinged manner when she's been one of the people who've been picking, who has a history of bullying new female rap artists. She has a history. So if I were to pick a side, then I don't think that and that doesn't sway how I'm approaching this in terms of healing. Because if Meg was doing the same, Meg obviously has some healing work to do. She's talked about it. Yeah, Leon, she should have left it alone. Meg has some healing work to do. She's talked about it. I mean, she was shot. That was traumatizing. She's talked about a lot of that in her album, how she was suicidal, how she was dealing with a lot of things and, people betraying her and all of that. So Meg has been doing some of the work. She's also put her money where her mouth is. Bad bitches have bad days too.com. Like she's helped send people to resources so that they can work on their own healing. And I'm a fan of healing. What I will say is that Nicki Minaj is really showing her hand. She's really showing her hand. Hey, Dr. Catherine, I see you. If you want to pop in, hit that link. Hit that link on my other comment, the comment before that. You want to pop in and share some of your thoughts on this. But okay, so Infamous OG says it was the same thing like Cat Williams. He was just responding to and went on Shannon Sharp's podcast. Yeah, like, you can only tick, 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 tick people for so long. And here's the thing, when they respond, so for example, my responses, when somebody comes at me with some foolishness, my responses are typically like, they're not unhinged, but I will gather you. I will gather you, but I'm not going off. I'm not fussing and crying and doing all the things. Like, I'm going to show you, hey babes, that's my kid. I'm going to show you I'm not to be messed with. I'm going to create a nice boundary, right? But I'm not going to get on yelling and cussing and fussing and crying and talking about your mama and them. I'm not doing that. So Taylor says, I'm not a big fan of Nicki, but I do think she's a good rapper. I think she can be a good rapper. I think that thing that she put out recently, that was not good rap. I don't think that the bars were connecting, although I did hear somebody use another beat to it and it sounded better. But yeah, the bars weren't as clever. She said, like, okay, so Leon says, like, I feel like what she said was very out of pocket. Someone called me soft, but you can't do that. Absolutely. Or was it her mother? Oh, she went off to talking about people, right? She talked about the girl's mom, which is a significant source of pain. As someone who's lost a mother, like, don't be talking about people's mamas. But here's what I can tell you, because I know, like, if someone were to come to me and say something about my mother, I might be like, damn, that was low. But you're not going to trigger me with that, because I know who my mother was. I know my relationship with my mother. I know all of this. So you're not going to trigger me with that. There is nothing you can say to me here on these social media streets is going to trigger me to have a meltdown like that. Now, I say that. And then, there's always life. Something could happen. I'm not going to say I'm beyond. But it's highly unlikely. And that's based on the fact that I've had so many things said about me, so many disrespectful things said about me, just because I'm a woman of a certain age who got divorced and talks about healing and helping other women heal. That's what made me a target. So Leon said, I just hope Megan clapped back though, because like, here's the thing. Megan doesn't have to say another word. Megan doesn't have to say another word. She is living rent-free in Nicki Minaj's head. rent free. The amount of peace that she has allowed herself to give up under the guise of putting Meg back in her place, the amount of peace that she's given up, man, like, can y'all afford to give up that much peace? I know I work too hard for my peace. And because I work so hard for my peace, because I have peace, I'm very protective of my peace. And part of being very protective of my peace is that I'm not going to allow anybody to trigger me. So Leon said, I'm sorry, but Big Fit was so bad. It was horrible. It was so bad. Now it was bar to bar to bar. Like, I had to slow it down. So Renee says, hello, I'm 55 and loves Megan. Come on now. I love me some Megan too. I used to be like, I was on the plane with Dwayne. Like, I used to be, I could rock with Nicki when she's right, she's right. But when she's wrong, she's wrong. Yes, infamous OG said, yes, rent free and a penthouse view. Absolutely. And she is tied up in this one line that this woman said about her. Now, you notice how nobody else, unless I'm missing something, nobody else is kicking up storms. Nobody else is saying anything. If Nicki Minaj had kept her mouth shut, she had kept her mouth shut, people would have been, is she talking about Nicki Minaj? She might be talking about Nicki Minaj, but because she came out the gate so soon, because she was carrying such a heavy offense. So Leon said, I was confused half the time. I felt like it was somebody telling a horror story, not rapping. It was really not. It was not her best work. And when you think about how being emotionally dysregulated affects us. So Renee said, I'm in Houston and they going crazy about this little beef. I too am in Houston, Renee. She should have waited. She dropped it too fast. She really should have. So infamous OG said Big Feet was far-fetched and a desperate effort to respond. So basically what she did. Oh, I got some comments over here in the what you call it? I got some comments on Facebook. I'm gonna see. But basically what she did, right? When you're emotionally dysregulated, you don't make sense. You don't say things that sound right. You are not of your sound mind. We don't make good decisions when we're emotionally dysregulated. And she was. So Dr. Catherine said, Dr. Catherine is a neuropsychologist. She has a PhD. She's like only like, I don't know, 1.2% of neuropsychologists in the country are Black women, and she's one of them. Stay tuned because she is going to be a guest on my future podcast. So for those of you who are waiting for my podcast, it's coming. She said she helped Meg sell more of it. She absolutely did. And Nicki got more people checking out that sound. Yep. I loved her music, still like a few things, but I don't even look to like celebs as people because I know they aren't what they portray often. Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing. If she had, Taylor said it didn't sound sensical. It absolutely did. It made no sense. Here's the thing. She is basically, the best thing that she can come up with is that Megan Thee Stallion is tall and that she has big feet. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of tall women, and some of those tall women have big feet because they need big feet to hold their height. And what's wrong with having big feet? And what's wrong with being a tall woman? So is she going to shame? She going to height and body shame her? That's the best she can do? That's the best she can do? But your unhealedness will have you hitting below the belt in ways that don't make sense. So Renee says, so now you see the dad coming after Megan for using that line in which was his daughter. So I saw that. And here's the thing. That could be a whole other set of things. He might not like the fact that a Black woman mentioned his daughter. He might not like the fact that he might not like rap. But here's the thing. She basically drew more attention to a law, and it's in the public domain. It was named after his daughter. It doesn't mean that he has all rights to it. So Taylor says, my daughter is 5'6" and wants to be taller. Listen, I'm 5'2" and want to be taller. You think Nicki was extremely angry? Yes, she was angry and unhinged. In her anger, her blind rage, which if you are easily if you are easily offended, if you're easily offended, you can very easily get into a blind rage and do things out of anger. I see people on this other side. I can't see y'all. I can't see y'all, or I can't see your comments, Facebook. So I'll get back with you guys later. But I see your comments over here, but I don't see them on the thing. But yeah, so it's like when you are that upset and you allow yourself to become that upset, you allow yourself to hand over your remote, and then you're giving control to other people. You're giving control to circumstances. You're giving control to situations. You're giving control to everything but anything inside of you. When you've done the work, to heal, you do not abdicate your control like that. You don't do that. They saying, hey, Jason. Jason Phillips is over there too. Now he's a therapist and a coach as well, and he don't know this yet, but he's also going to be on my upcoming podcast that I'm doing. I was on his podcast. Was that a year ago? It's been a while. I was on his podcast, and I love to talk to this brother because he's super smart too. I know a lot of really smart friends who's going to help a lot of y'all in a lot of these ways. So make sure you're following me on all the platforms because a podcast is definitely coming. So Renee said, baby, I've listened to Megan's song 50 times and laughed. Leon said she needs some healing, definitely, because it seemed like she was out of it. Absolutely. So here's the thing. My mother used to say, and it came from a commercial, never let them see you sweat. Do y'all remember that commercial? I think it was Secret. It was a deodorant commercial. Never let them see you sweat. If you see them sweat, if they see you sweat, then they know what bothers you. They know what to trigger you. Now, this is not to say don't be human. This is not to say just ignore the things that hurt you, because sometimes people are going to say things that are hurtful to you. But that means heal in private. Have your friends like, yo, do you have people in your circle who you can say, you know what, that shit hurt, and I need to process that. If you ain't got a therapist, get you a therapist, boo. I'm a therapist who's had therapists. I'm a coach who's had coaches. Sometimes I've had to take that thing that I want to spew out on the internet and go and talk it out. I have good friends who I can talk these things out with, so I don't show up on these interwebs in ways that are going to impugn my character. Because here's the thing, and I'm just gonna be real with you. Jason said he's ready. All right, be on the lookout. It's coming. Here's what I want y'all to know. I don't choose peace because I can't war. Hear me when I say, I don't choose peace because I can't war. I know how to fight. I know how to fight verbally. I know how to fight physically. I know how to cuss you out real good. But that doesn't come from a place of peace. Now, that's not to say that it does not have its merits, because there are some who might be in need of some of that, right? But I remember being in a place, right, where I was so enraged. I was in a place of offense and hurt, and it was palpable. Cassandra Jones, who I've known since college, said, "Sure do." It was so much pain, and that pain took me out of myself, and I acted out. And I'm just so glad that there wasn't that person wasn't in front of me, because they would have been drug. They would have been drug in the heat of the moment. And I wouldn't be standing before you this day. I would be somewhere fighting a legal case. I guarantee you. And when I got from that moment, I knew, and keep in mind, I'm a therapist. I'm a coach. I do all the things for the people. And this is not to say you might not ever see me out in these Houston streets cussing somebody out, because somebody might need it. Sometimes things will push us, right? So Renee said that's called being human. Sometimes mess happens. Exactly. Like that's called. But you know what? When that happened, you know what I didn't do? I didn't go on the internet. I knew better than to post anything. I didn't post nothing. If somebody had video of it, that might have been different, but I didn't go on the internet. I could have gone on a tear. I could have tore this other person to shreds on the internet. I could have caused some damage because I had the right to, because I was offended. I was very offended, rightfully so. But being in that moment and having that out of body like experience, it didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with me. And so since then, I have been so intentional about my healing so that things like that don't bother me in that way anymore. So that when I have these random men on the internet saying these random ridiculous things, that I look at it and I laugh. Now, again, that don't mean that there won't come a time where somebody might need to get cussed out, might have to turn the new me into the old me. But if it happens, very likely it will be the result of a choice that I've made. Not that I feel out of control, and I felt out of control, but because since then I leaned in and I did the healing work, because I did not want that to sit in me. I didn't want that to sit in me. Being triggered in that way meant somebody else could do that to me, and I didn't want to give up that control. So I did the work and I healed. I did the work and I healed. Now that also means don't come for me unless I send for you, because like I said, I can fight. I don't want to fight, but that don't mean I can't and that I won't. But the thing about the peace that comes with healing, right? The peace that comes with healing, you're not just going to give that up for nothing. I'm not going to give that up. I'm not going to give that up because some random man I never met before called me old, out of shape, and not deserving of what I want. Why would I give up my peace because of something some idiot says? Like it makes me laugh. Like I look at him and I'm cracking up. So Renee says, because you're grown and got shit to lose, they still young. No, listen. When I was popping off that last time, I was grown and I had some stuff to lose. I had a lot of stuff to lose. It was just I wasn't emotionally healed in that place. It was a new hurt that I didn't expect to experience. It took me off guard. And because it took me off guard, it had me showing up in that I never want to show up again. And it was about 20 minutes of I felt like I was having an out of body experience. And in that moment, I thought I'm going to have to do something drastic. And I mean, my drastic was I got a therapist and I worked through it. So Leon says, I'm pretty young, actually. I got into this live on accident, but not sure if it's right. If what's right. But not sure if what's right. So yeah, but yeah, so that's why call me sis. I'm in Katie. I know the feeling. Yeah, so I just wanted to share, we have got to be intentional about doing the work so that we don't show up in that way. It's really not a good look for Nicki. And Nicki's old enough to have things to lose, right? She's old enough to have things to lose. And it's just really unfortunate that her unhealedness is playing out in this way. And she can fire back and say it's not. She can say it's not. Like a lot of people say it's not what it appears to be. But I tell you, I'm not looking at it from the, oh yeah, you go get her. I'm looking at it like, there's some deeper issues there. Now I'm not diagnosing her with no deeper issues or what the deeper issue is, but there's definitely something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. So with that, I hope you all have done the work that's required, that you're willing to lean in. If you find yourself easily triggered, if you find yourself easily offended, if you find yourself not feeling like you have control over your own remote, lean in and do the work. If you need some help, DM me. That's what I do all day, every day. And I'll call you on your shit. This ain't what that is. I'm going to tell you what that is. And this ain't that. It's not what you think it is. It's not because Nicki Minaj is a bad bitch. I'm a bad bitch. That's not what it is. She's hurt. She's hurt. She's offended. She has no emotional regulation. Emotional intelligence is a beautiful thing. Emotional intelligence is a beautiful thing. Hey, Renee, I'm in Sugarland. Taylor said, I love this live tonight. Thank you for joining. And you know what? So I have a plan I'm actually going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a podcast where I have guests and we talk about different topics. So if there's anything you want to hear more about or learn more about as it relates to healing journey, shifting, any of those things, please feel free to drop it in my DM. And we'll have more of those conversations because I think there are some opportunities for some growth, right? I've always been the type of person who prefers to learn vicariously through other people as opposed to having to experience a thing. So, if we could do that together and we can learn and grow in those ways, then all the better for us, right? So Renee says, that woman has too much money and too much time and her friends lying. Tell her the truth. Yeah, we need friends who will call us on our stuff, right? We need friends who go, girl, sis, who will take the risk. And that's a problem. If you're surrounded by yes men and women, they won't call you on your shit. And if you have people who don't call you on your shit, you probably need to invest in a coach or a therapist. As a coach or a therapist, I don't care if you get mad. I've had clients who've gotten mad. I don't care. You pay me to tell you the truth. And if that means that you don't want to be a client anymore, that's fine with me. Because I'm going to call it like I see it. Now, I'm not going to be rude about it. And I'll do it in very, that thing that you want, this goal that you say that you want to hit and reach. I recognize this pattern, and this is a thing that appears to be keeping you from. There's a disconnect. So, do you want to address the disconnect, or do you want us to pretend like it is not happening, and then you just continue to have the same issue? Because as your coach, I'm here to help you get to that goal. Selena said, I actually have a therapist, and she is the sweetest. I love it. Oh yeah, and I've been a sweet therapist as well. I'm a sweet therapist now. I'm not on these platforms as anybody's therapist. I'm not trying to do therapy. I'm a coach, and some of my coaching clients have therapists. I actually have a group, and my clients have therapists, and we talk about, how to integrate some of that into their group experience. But yeah, like therapists are really good people, but one of the things that we don't do is I'll say as a therapist, what I have done is I've been intentional about when to have certain conversations, because not everybody's ready, right? Like I will have the revelation way before my client is ready to be revealed. I'll have the revelation. I can have the revelation way before my client is ready to be revealed. And so sometimes you have to, you kind of have to, I just want to bring up something that said a few sessions back, and I want to connect that to what you're saying right now and how it may be contributing to some of these negative occurrences that you've spoke about, right? But yeah, so that's my take on it. If you are finding yourself easily triggered, get healed. Do the work. Get a therapist or a coach or a therapist and a coach, or join a group, or continue to follow my content, because I continue to talk about what it looks like to heal, and to stay healed, and to release the offense. Release the offense. And that's what happened. If you're easily offended, you are easily manipulated. Have a good evening. We'll see you later, Taylor. If you're easily offended, you are easily manipulated. And there are a lot of people who are easily offended. She ain't one. She is me, y'all. Anywho, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Stay tuned. I have another video that's in the vault that I'll be putting on Facebook and TikTok, and probably Instagram too, that I did earlier today, and it's along the same lines where I talk about some of these things that the benefit of not being triggerable. My sister, actually, she makes jewelry, and she made me a bracelet, and it had a hang tag that said "unfuckwittable." I'm unfuckwittable. You can't fuck with me. Like, no, not like that. And what happens when people find that they can't fuck with you in that way, that you're not triggerable? You know what happens? They put down the remote. You ever try to change your channel, and the remote don't work? Sometimes you got to replace the remote. They replace the remote. They find somebody else who's an easy target. Don't be an easy target. Do the work. Do the work. Trust me. It has benefits. All right, y'all. Good night.